Welcome on in, everyone. It's Malliem back with another weekly horror story. If you've got a story you'd like to share, feel free to post it to my subreddit linked below. We're picking back up with Murder is Legal in My Town, but I Am Yet to Kill Someone, Part 3. As of recording this, I don't know if there is a Part 4, but I'll cover it if it comes out and y'all are still interested. So let me know with a comment or two. If you enjoy the show, hit that sub button for me. It helps a lot. Thanks! The first flash was painful, but it only lasted a few seconds. I was strapped to a hospital bed under a fierce yellow glow that seared my eyes, metal plates pressed to my temples and looming figures hanging over me like ghosts. I could sense there were others, all of us in the exact same position, wriggling against the restraints pinning us down. All of them looked like me. We had the exact same dark brown hair and green eyes, the exact same facial structure. I could hear their phantom cries, their screams, fear and pain erupting inside them, sending their thoughts into a vicious whirlwind. Something rubber was lodged between our teeth, and we were politely told to bite down on it. When we didn't, they forced us. The figure leaning close wore a mask. We all saw the same pair of eyes, creased with wrinkles and glinting with triumph. He prodded the metal plate attached to our temples, and we saw the slight wrinkle in the folds of his mask, which could only be a smile. His voice was a low murmur as he fitted the metallic plates. They were ice cold and made us flinch. "Tell me your name." We did, speaking through the rubber thing choking us. "Olivia, Allie, Charlotte." It took a while for my voice to join their symphony, 3 different versions of L. It did eventually, however faded it was. I think my brain was struggling to find the girl who had existed before L, who had a different identity and her very own name. I answered. When Elle was first created through Olivia, she was not alone in that room. There was a nameless screaming boy begging for death, but in a whole different tone. While we screamed and cried and struggled, this faceless kid's cries turned to laughter. There was one rule in that room. The room where every surface glistened with old and new red, and the floor had to be cleaned hourly to get rid of the bloodstains. The answer to the question was L. It was always L. If we spoke names with the kind of stubbornness that came with refusing to let go of our identities, along came agony like a snake, initially creeping up our spine, teasing, before exploding in every nerve ending and rattling us. It almost felt like a presence had taken hold, twisting our limbs, eliciting our screams, snapping each bone one by one, contorting us into a perfect arch before slamming us back down on the table we were strapped to. It felt like lightning. Like we were being filled to the brim with lightning. In my dazed state, I pretended the lightning was stars, because being filled with stars sounded so much better. Less painful. Olivia was the first L to fail. She bled out all over the table. I only know this through her flickering vision, still attached to the tooth. Allie's heart stopped before her death, an influx of nonsensical thoughts filling her mind. Charlotte was their first proper L and had my exact same memories. She watched the man shot dead when she was 8, had noticed the abnormality in Mrs. Jensen's behavior, and had watched Jonas Isaacs split Jessa Pollux' skull open in 9th grade. Charlotte eventually cut into her wrist with a piece of glass and fell asleep in the bathtub. She was the one whose memory clung on, who wouldn't let me go. I felt her shuddering breaths, saw the pooling scarlet dripping over marble, her trembling wrists struggling to cut deep enough. Through the implant, which was weakening as reality and memory came together in one vivid explosion inside my mind, I felt her panic and fear. Charlotte didn't want to die. But she also didn't want to continue living in a world that wasn't her own. Like me, she too had discovered the truth behind Brightwood and had ultimately decided that death was the only way out. I could still hear her lingering thoughts. I could feel icy cold water enveloping her head as she sank deeper and deeper into the bathtub as my world split open. A world where I was Elle, and yet someone else entirely. Brightwood was fake. She knew that, and now so did I. Suddenly, I was on my back, staring dazedly at the ceiling as alarms screeched in my skull, a dull red glow illuminating the stumbling figure pulling on my ankles. Jonas Isaacs, who was still hopped up on whatever had been forced into his bloodstream. Two different versions of him existed in my memory. The boy I had known for the past 17 years of my life inside this illusion, and the shadow that sat down in front of me in a reality where the aroma of coffee was familiar and raindrops soaked my hair and slid down window panes. But it was so hard to hold on to that memory in particular. I could tell my implant was loose. I knew that one single flick of my tongue would dislodge where it was between my back teeth. As I was struggling to do just that, it became harder to tell what was real and what wasn't. I could hear Jonas's sharp breaths as he struggled to pull my motionless body through a set of metal doors, but I could also hear the sounds of strangers around me, inside the reality I was trying to divulge. The smell of coffee and disinfectant, a cocktail of both worlds, tickled the back of my nose and throat. But Brightwood was always stronger, always pushing to be at the forefront. When my feathered vision stabilized and the memory of the coffee shop against the backdrop of a rainy evening faded away, I was left dazedly counting ceiling tiles as I was dragged along, wondering why my body was no longer responsive. I think I used to be a bad person. At first I thought I imagined Jonas speaking, because I could still hear his voice in the memory. I could see the cruel gleam in this other version's eyes as he leaned forward, a teasing smirk twitching on his lips. This current Jonas, however, was a whole other person I couldn't bring myself to trust, despite his reluctance to hold on to his old self. His voice sounded like ocean waves once again, crashing into my mind and then drawing back with the rest of the sound in my ears. The boy's grip was slipping on my ankles, and I could tell by his labored breaths and hysterical giggles that his sanity wasn't far behind. But he kept speaking, forcing words through a slur that had seemingly taken his mind hostage from the drugs still in his system. Fuck! His voice broke into a cry. Was I a bad person? He let go of my ankles, staggering forward and clawing at his hair. When he twisted around to face me, unbridled despair painted his expression. He dropped to his knees in front of me and leaned close, his shuddering breaths fluttering in my face. Was I worse than the urge? He whispered in a sing-song voice. When the alarm stopped, the intense red glow around him extinguished. I glimpsed how sick he looked. He was sweating, pale. His cheeks were gaunt, floppy hair glued to his forehead. When Jonas looked at me directly, there was a fog in his eyes, something mechanical flooding his pupils. His shadow was swaying. I could tell he was ready to collapse, ready to give up. Worse than Joey Cunningham and those kids who murdered a bunch of freshmen in 7th grade. I think I was, really bad. He jumped back up, grabbing my legs, a whole new determination taking over his eyes. Jonas started to laugh, loudly, like nothing else mattered. I don't want to be a bad person. I can't be a bad person, right? He said quietly. Then he tipped his head back and screamed at the ceiling, dragging me further, tightening his viper-like grip on my ankles. Fuck! Another pull. Al, I know you're tripping serious shit right now, but I would really appreciate some help. He gasped. I don't know where we are, and the walls are moving. I keep remembering things that don't make sense, and my head feels like it's burning. Jonas's fingernails sliced into my flesh. I felt his desperation to escape the red lights. Come on, please. If I knew one punching you in the face would turn you into a sack of potatoes, I never would have done it.
Mr. Sinclair, stop. You are hurting yourself.
A voice crackled over the intercom.
No, you did this to me.
He gritted.
You turned my head into this, and I can't think straight. I keep seeing things.
He tore at his face.
I keep seeing things that don't make sense. Why, Al?
His cry sent shivers down my spine.
I keep seeing her. In every flash, I see her. And my brain is boiling. I feel like my head is going to explode.
The vicious cocktail of drugs in his system warped his voice into a sing-song tremor.
I think I'm going crazy.
Jonas laughed, his eyes suddenly far too bright. Even through my flickering vision, the contrast of his blood against the marble corridor was horrifying. I could see every river of red sliding between cracks in the tiles, pooling and dripping down his chin, staining the blue gown hanging off him.
Why is it all you?
His lips split into a grin, and for a fraction of a second, his old self, the one I had seen in my memory, seeped through. The boy tipped his head back and screamed.
Why her?
Fucking tell me! Let me handle this. A familiar voice floated behind us. I wasn't sure where it was coming from, though I had a vague sense that we were surrounded. When Jonas gave up and dropped my ankles, I sensed footsteps growing closer. I expected him to try and run, but instead he broke down, pulling his knees to his chest. Stop calling me that, he said in a sharp cry. Just stop! Like Annalise Duval, his mind seemed to have snapped, splintering into pieces. The boy resembled her from earlier, rocking back and forth and whispering to himself, his hands in his hair, clawing out clumps. Stop calling me that, Jonas whispered. Stop calling me that. Stop calling me that. Stop calling me that. When a pair of arms wrapped around his waist and tried to pull him to his feet, he lashed out like an animal, teeth bared. Get your fucking hands off me! The stranger's embrace followed him as he tried to back away, clamping down on his shoulders. I only had to see the masked face and those cruel, piercing eyes to know it was the same man who had taken away my real name. No, we are rectifying this right now, the man said, struggling to hold the boy down. I watched in sharp flashes as Jonas slammed into the ground, back first. I remember trying to move, to help him. Except I couldn't. I was locked inside my own body. The masked man knelt in front of Jonas like a father, and I really believed he was the boy's father, until he forced his head down, uncaring when the back of Jonas's skull hit marble with a sickening crack, enough to disorient him. Mr. Sinclair. No, Jonas slurred. No. You are sick, the man spat. You are broken, poisoned. Nothing you do will change my mind, young man. Whatever happened to you is clearly our own fault. I must admit, the last thing I expected you to do was force a broken tooth back inside your mouth. Now, that was the final straw. When Jonas stared at him through flickering eyes, part of me understood what the man meant. It must have hurt to see a completely different person in place of who he thought he had created. Do you really want to get rid of all our hard work? Everything you did to become a vital part of Darkroom. Your fans? The promise you made to us. Really, Mr. Sinclair? Are you going to throw it all down the drain? When Jonas weakly attempted to fight back against both the man's grasp and the odd name forced upon him, his wrists were pinned down. Listen to me, the man said. That is your name. You do not go by any other name. Per what you learned inside the Red Room. Do you understand me? You belong with us, son. You are part of the reason we exist, why we took a chance on this project. And it's time you remembered that. Brightwood makes the world a better place. It extinguishes those urges people have by allowing them to consume it 24 hours a day. You are a part of that. Jonas let out an animalistic shriek when the man forced 2 fingers inside his mouth and pried it open. What did I tell you? I gave you one simple instruction, and that was not to touch your back teeth. The motion of his hand, Jonas's eyes rolling back, and his body going still told me everything I needed to know. When my classmate's head hit the ground, his eyes flickering shut, I knew the tooth was gone. For good this time. The man held the fake molar pinched between his fingers before snapping it in 2. He dropped it onto the ground with a frustrated hiss and got to his feet. I signed a contract promising that I would raise and protect Darkroom's own, and I am held to that. This time he spoke to the sudden influx of shadows surrounding us, as one in particular gathered Jonas into its arms. I felt a presence attempting to lift me to my feet. Mr. Sinclair has been severely poisoned. What I thought would be fixed by a new tooth had clearly blown up in our faces. Since the regression has reached the boy's mind, I want him in the Red Room. Now. The young man must undergo Protocol 415 immediately. If we don't, the boy will die. We need a Stage 3 wipe, a full decontamination. Jonas was dying, bleeding out when they carried him away, his nose and mouth and ears hemorrhaging, his body convulsing. I was frowning at the amount of contrasting red and white on the floor when I was pulled unceremoniously to my feet, jarring the world around me. That was the exact movement I needed. I remembered being a little kid inside the fake world of Brightwood. I had a loose front tooth. And with the promise of the tooth fairy coming to give me a whole $1 for my tooth, I had spent the better part of the day prodding at my mouth, I wobbled it around until I was convinced it was stuck, despite being able to lodge and dislodge it with the roof of my tongue. Halfway through SpongeBob SquarePants, however, I jumped up to get a glass of water from the kitchen. It was that sudden jolting movement that finally dethroned the crown from where it had stubbornly sat for days. In a similar fashion, the guard yanking me to my feet sent shockwaves through my body. I felt the twitching, moving tooth like it was alive. Before I could fully register it to spit it out, though, I was back inside my contorted mind once again. With a sudden sharp, slicing agony rattling both my mouth and my brain, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Inside a coffee store. There was no bright wood, no sterile white corridor smeared with my classmates' blood. There was just the rain and my own twisting gut. The memory was in full clarity now that the tooth was gone. I was sitting against the backdrop of a rainy spring evening with Jonas Isaacs in front of me, leaning on his fist with a quizzical, yet sadistic smile on his mouth. I remember wondering what exactly his expression was, because I had never seen one like that before. It took a while of pondering to realize what I was seeing. Insanity. I had never seen true insanity until I met him. A haunting, inhuman glitter. His entire body was practically vibrating with excitement, like my fear was causing him exhilaration. Well, Jonas's smile widened. Are you done playing your game? A girl who looked way too young to be working at a coffee shop plonked a chocolate milkshake in front of him, and he leaned forward and took a sip from the straw before flashing the girl a grin. Thanks. He turned his attention back to me, taking 3 large gulps before tipping his head back and exhaling. Jonas blew a raspberry. Tough crowd. How about a hello first? You know, formal speech. Hello, how are you doing? Oh, I'm great, how about you? His eyes were piercing, scanning every contortion of my expression. Oh, just killing people for cash. You know, fun stuff like that. However, I'm not the fucking idiot putting it on the internet. Before I could stop myself, I reacted in a frenzy, reaching across the table and slamming my hand over his mouth. But to my horror, he just muffled a laugh into my palm. Do you want me to go on? He waggled his eyebrows, and I could sense his sickening smile growing. There's a lot of people in here who would love to know about your magnum opus from several days ago. His words were muffled, but it would only take a stranger straining their ears to get the gist of what he was saying. Jonas knew this, and he was playing to my weakness, my obsession with keeping this on the down low. He cocked his head, his smile darkening slightly. Subtle, but terrifying. I found myself lost in his eyes, 2 holes of pooling oblivion. No humanity. Or are you going to have some common courtesy? When I removed my hand, he sat back and took another sip of his shake. Try again. His smile was teasing, but his tone was just like that of the text. Playful, and yet threatening. When I could only stare at him blankly, he laughed. Oh my fucking god, dude. You're like, seriously fucking with me. Right? The boy groaned. Hello, it's nice to meet you. I'm Kane. What a great night we're having. He mocked. Is it that hard to understand? Jeez, I find it hard to believe you could actually make a video. My name is... I said. Why are you here? He arched a brow, chewing on a straw. Why do you think I'm here? I couldn't resist my own laugh. I'm sorry, how old are you? He curled his lip. I'm literally 1 year younger than you, and it's not like we're different. Kane leaned forward. But I want you to ask me that question again. Think about it. Why am I here? After all of my texts you ignored, my calls, even my Insta request. He pouted. Honestly, you would think after all I've offered, you would at least return my fucking calls. He slammed his milkshake down, his smile unwavering. You think you can upload whenever you want, and you won't get noticed by us? It was for my older sister. It was for my sister, Kane mocked, lifting his milkshake and saluting me. Great excuse. Still murder. Something in his eyes twinkled. Your latest and only video, might I add, currently stands at almost 4 million views, 300,000 likes, and 70,000 shares. Which, he whistled. Damn. I'd call you Darkroom's biggest thing right now, but, I mean, I'm also in the room. He shrugged, draining the shake. You're maybe a close third or fourth if you knock Wilson off the top spot, but I will say you're getting there. In fact, if you check your subs, your macabre masterpiece is just about to knock me down. I watched the boy's odd, twitchy movements, saw him wrap his fingers around the milkshake and squeeze, popping the lid off. Which, unfortunately, makes us, rivals. His lips split into a grin. And normally, I would, probably kill you. He winked. No hard feelings. But, the bigwigs have of course decided to use me to get their cash grab. He kicked me under the table, tipping his head back with a groan. That, annoyingly, is you. I want nothing to do with you, I whispered. His smile disappeared. You also uploaded a video of yourself mutilating a guy to the internet, which I gotta say, is pretty badass. Something ice cold slithered down my spine, and I felt myself recoil in my seat. I swore I would never think about that video after deleting the app and taking all the cash from the views it got. It was bitter irony that the money was going towards my sister's college fund. What are you saying? I demanded. He shrugged, and his gaze found mine once again. I'm saying... He dragged out the word like I was a preschooler. Why don't we help each other? I want my rep back, after a tiny mistake which wasn't even my fault. He rolled his eyes. How was I supposed to know vomiting wasn't allowed to be shown? I can rip out my pop's guts and that's fine, but spewing? That's not allowed. What is this, fucking YouTube? Jeez. You would think they would treat their top influencers with some kind of respect, right? I mean, I'm literally at the top, if you ignore the Nepo babies. I practically own these freaks, and they think they can shut me down for accidentally barfing on camera? This kid was insane, I thought dizzily. Like a fucking psychopath. I didn't speak, and his smile pricked back into existence. Anyway, Darkroom wants to sign you on as a full-timer. And before you say, oh no, I did it for my sister. I needed the money for my family. He mocked my voice again. That, my friend, is bullshit. If you had the guts, pun intended, to do that and upload it to Darkroom, then you have what they call potential. Not as much as a Red Room OG, but you're getting there. He smirked. Also, you probably have a serious problem, but hey, don't we all? You've got to be fucked in the head to get our attention. And damn, you certainly did that. Who are you? Was all I could say. I swallowed hard. Kane held my gaze. I'm one of their best, he said. Darkroom made me. Well, A bunch of us. He winked. From scratch. What do you want? He chuckled. Geez, enough with the who, what, when, where, and how. We're friends, right? You've been blackmailing me. Well, yeah. Because you're almost #1 on Darkroom right now. As much as it pains me to say that, and trust me, it does. The boy tilted his head. I've never been to school, he said. All I've ever known is killing my family. He tilted his head again. Do you want to know what I did? He leaned in close to me, lips almost latching onto my ear. I really wanted to know how the brain worked. Kane murmured, his breath ice cold, his fingers tiptoeing across my scalp. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. So I split my dad's head open and had a peek. When my brother started screaming, I killed him too. I carved up my big brother like a Thanksgiving turkey and went viral on Darkroom. His fingers tightened in my hair, taking hold of my scalp. So why don't you start asking serious questions? When he let me go, I tried to stand up. Kane slammed his hands down on the table. Sit down. I haven't finished with you yet. I swallowed the sickly paste creeping up my throat. What do they want me to do? Kane's expression lit up. He pulled out his phone, tapping the screen with his index finger. Easy. You do 2 kills a week. You can decide how you kill them. Darkroom will pay you $60K per kill, and depending on how good your videos are received, they could give you a bonus. Full protection from the police, too. He cleared his throat. Now what you can't do is put out content anywhere else. YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, trust me, there are hidden communities that allow this kind of content to get past filters. The world is fucked up and people want to see bodies. But hey, you'll get paid and accumulate a fan base, and you'll also end up on the front page. He laughed when I leaned back. Don't pretend to be disgusted. You're one of us. He continued. There are 3 categories on Darkroom. We have the usual users who post normal shit, you know, like mutilation and kidnapping, that kind of vanilla crap. Then there are the ones like you. Idiots with zero self-awareness who get a taste for killing and upload their filthy fixes. If they get an onslaught of likes and catch Darkroom's eye, they're invited to join. Finally, he pointed to himself. And then there are the ones they make, which are the OGs. So, what is it going to be? His eyes lit up. Are you in? You post a video every day of either mutilation, torture, murder, whatever, and bam, instant cash. Get to the top, and you'll start getting a following. His smile was growing progressively more maniacal. Then you'll be able to stream it live. And streaming live? That's a whole different party once you become one of us. Streaming live means you made it. He winked. If you know what I mean. No. The word sputtered from my mouth before I could stop it. I'm not doing that. Kane's smile wavered. He reminded me of a kid who wasn't getting what he wanted. Well, the alternative is a visit to the dentist. What? He opened his mouth wide. I'm actually scheduled for tomorrow. I'm set for a lead influencer role in their ongoing project. If I manage to sign you on, I get $60K per appearance, my account gets bumped to the top, and my rep is back. He tilted his head. I like you. I mean, I hate you because we're rivals, but I think you could be something special. Sure, you're not like the Red Room OGs who sit at the top no matter what. But you brutally mutilated the man who hurt your sister and uploaded it to the internet. He shrugged. Clearly, you have An urge, his smile widening, to spill blood. That's why you killed that man with no mercy, and then chopped off his dick. I'm leaving, I managed to say, jumping to unsteady feet. Darkroom recently lost their leading girl, you know, Kane said loudly. Sure, it was great content for viewers, but now they're looking for a replacement. He tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table. I wonder who that could be. I don't know how I managed to stand. Leave me alone, I spat at him. Spread the video, I don't care. If you come near me again, I'll call the cops. I started to walk away, but the boy's hand whipped out to wrap around my wrist. He jumped to his feet, no longer smiley and playful. His eyes glittered with that unbridled insanity I didn't want to believe existed. But... Kane mocked a pout and let me go, spreading his arms. I should have run. Every part of me screamed to get away, but suddenly I was painfully aware of the teenage girls in front of me, giggling. The businessmen on their laptops had stopped typing, and the more I noticed, the more I realized it was everywhere. A silence spreading across the store, reaching the baristas behind the counter. I felt every eye on me, and when I forced myself to meet their gazes, their eyes were as maniacal as Kane's. Their smiles were too wide. No, I thought dizzily. Their eyes weren't on me. They were all on him. What would everyone think? Kane raised his voice before bouncing in front of me with a wide grin. Your parents' sweet baby girl is a murderer? How would they cope? I caught movement around me, and each person, man, woman, teenager, was slowly lifting their phone to point at me. Kane noticed his grin growing wider. He knew he had an audience. What about your dad and brother? He mocked a sob. Your bullied sister. The boy shocked me by diving onto a table, and people started murmuring and laughing amongst themselves. He twisted around, still grinning, spreading his arms. Come on, redacted. Surely you don't want the alternative, right? I started to back away, but a woman suddenly standing behind me shoved me forward. Or maybe, Kane continued, pausing for effect. He was speaking to the crowd this time, the people pointing their phones at me. Maybe you do want the alternative. He stepped toward me, and so did they, in an almost zombie-like march, suffocating me. Their eyes were greedy, smiles cruel. What do you say, guys? Do you want to be your new L? They didn't reply immediately, and his smile grew, like he knew he had them under his control. I fucking said. Kane cupped his mouth and kicked a chair over. Do you want to be your new L? Yes, they said in a low drone, their voices blending together. What's going on? My legs felt ready to give way. Who are these people? Kane shrugged, jumping back down. Duh. They want to meet L. He leaned close, hands behind his back. I backed away, my breath caught in my throat. Kane followed, holding his phone up. Up close was my own face staring back at him. When he blinked, so did the stream. His grin was wild. Smile? You're alive, sweetheart. The memory blurred for a moment, and I was only aware of pushing through people with the same smile, the same insanity sparking in their eyes. I couldn't breathe. The glowing light of the coffee shop faded away as I threw myself into the night, pouring rain soaking me, a downpour both inconvenient and somehow a relief. I choked on my sobbing breaths as I splashed through puddles, trying to pull my phone from my pocket. But my trembling hands kept failing, slipping and sliding on my sodden jeans. I could sense him following me, slowly. Cain knew moving slower would only drive me further into my own insanity. I could hear him intentionally kicking through puddle after puddle. I thought I'd lost him after leaping over a fence and cutting through a park, but in the haunting dark, unable to see a thing, his laugh bled into the silence of the night. And I found myself screaming into my hands, my legs starting to give way. I could see them, glimmers of foam flashlights illuminating the dark. Like him, his followers surrounded me. I don't understand why they run. Cain wasn't bothering to shout. I sensed him getting closer, his steps quickening. It just makes it more fun. And might I say, chat, I am having a great time. Cain laughed. Are you guys having fun? Because we're not finished yet. Coming to an abrupt halt, I scanned my getaway options. An alleyway with a dead end, a wall I could climb, and an electric fence. I was halfway down the alley when his footsteps stopped. I twisted around to face him, rain plastering my hair to my face. Cain was more shadow than human, a silhouette in the pitch dark. Even when oblivion had swallowed him up, I could sense his grin. What's your brother's name, again? His words were like razors slicing through me. Nick. I promised him I would meet him back at his place after I met with a stranger blackmailing me. When I started to run, so did he, after giving me a head start. He howled like a wild animal, hunting me down. Come on, Elle. His footsteps pounded on concrete. Why are you running away from us? When I stepped into my brother's apartment 15 minutes later, I found myself face to face with one of the most beautiful girls I had ever seen, a blade inches from my throat. Standing in the dull glow of Nick's place, she resembled an angel, dark curly hair pulled into pigtails, a white dress hanging off an hourglass figure. She was older than Cain, in her 20s maybe. Behind her was my family. Mom, Dad, brother, and sister. All of them had faces, except my sister. I saw my mother's frightened, wild eyes, my father's grimace, my brother's attempt at calm. But not her. My sister was nothing but a confusing blur of gold that bathed them all in harsh light. The girl had tied their hands behind their backs with Christmas lights. Her eyes glittered like Cain's, a cutting grin on her lips. There you are! She retracted the knife and stumbled back. Holy crap, I was about to send out a rescue party. When I risked a step forward, she traced the curve of my throat with a knife. You have a super cute family. Sim, didn't I say wait? When the door rattled and a soaking Cain stuck his head through, my body went into fight or flight. I twisted, attempting to shut him out. The girl's arms wrapped around me, her warm breath dancing in my ear. She was beautiful, graceful like an angel, yet her fingernails stabbed into my flesh, and her words cut into me. Don't do that. She yanked me back forcefully. That's not part of the game. Turning to Cain, who sidled through the door looking like a wet dog, she laughed. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. A little? He scowled, grabbing a towel from my brother's couch. Didn't we agree to share content? We did, Sim pouted. But I wanted to tie them up. Cain shoved me to my knees. When I cried out, he slammed his hand over my mouth. Now this is a snuff film. You thought you were over the top? Darkroom spawns the sickest of the sick. Subhuman trash who deserve to rot. The true unraveling of the human psyche. He laughed. And that's us. He stroked his hands across my cheek. You shouldn't have challenged us. Darkroom wants you, but that's their game. I'm looking forward to our new L. But first, I want to remind you of your fucking place. You're only at the top because of luck, sweetheart. Sim pressed her knife to my mother's throat, humming a nursery rhyme. This little piggy went to the market, she sang, before slicing my mother's throat. My vision blurred. I was screaming, but no sound came out. When I tried to lunge forward, Kane yanked me back with a laugh. This little piggy stayed at home. Sim stabbed my father's chest, then pulled out the blade, blood spattering her face. She smiled at me, before moving to my brother. This little piggy had roast beef. The blade split his skull, then went into his throat. And this little piggy had none. Reality blurred as red pooled on my brother's rug. And this little piggy... The girl reached my sister, wrenched her head up by the ponytail, teasing the knife across her throat. She smiled before letting her go. Her eyes flicked to me. She's all yours, Fee. There's your content. She knelt in front of my sister, covering her eyes playfully, then revealed them. The glowing blur didn't scream or cry, just stared. Do you want to guess how many people are watching right now? Kane murmured. I didn't reply, choking through sobs. 3 million, he said. 3 million sick bastards watching us carve your family apart. And I'm not even finished. Here's what I'm going to do. Instead of killing your sister right here, I'll take my time. Kane pressed his lips to my cheek in a mocking kiss. I'm going to take chunks of her each day, body and mind, so that when I do the big reveal, you won't recognize her. I'll make her last. Don't worry. And hey, he chuckled. Maybe, just to see her despair, I'll ask the bigwigs if she can be put into the project. He let go of me with a hysterical laugh. Imagine that. Your own sister. When I'm finished, she'll be begging to die. I screamed, but no sound came out. Keep screaming. That's what they love. When I was in Red Room, they sucked up my screams like a drug. These bastards feed off our pain. Shh! Sim hissed, giggling. We're not supposed to— Oh, relax. It's not like Red Room is a secret. It makes peekers. I felt his fingers pushing through my lips, choking me. See? You do have cavities. Now, meet someone. She's been waiting for you. His voice was sing-song, and an aroma hit me like bleach. Say hello, Elle. My vision blurred. I was back inside clinical white, strapped down, metallic plates glued to my temples. I saw Jonas looming over me. Or Kane. The boy I'd known my whole life, or at least the one inside Brightwood, was a lie forced into a psychopath. He was still in a bloody gown, but his cheeks had color, which meant the tooth was gone. That humanity he clung to was gone. I blinked through feathered vision as bolts ran through me. I saw the slight glint of a camera in his iris. He bent down, ice-cold breath tickling my neck. In a sing-song voice, as if probing my brain and seeing the memory, he finished the nursery rhyme. A familiar giggle came from behind him. An older-looking Sim appeared, shorter curls and pigtails. A group of boys and girls joined her, surrounding me. They must have been what Kane called peekers. Standing next to Jonas, laughing, was Annalise. Pale, sweaty, hollow-eyed, a puppet on strings. Kane's words echoed.
I'm going to take her apart mentally. First, her mind, then pieces of her body. Not enough to kill her. One day, I want you to look at your sister and think, I have a sister?
Something wet hit my forehead, Jonas's blood spotting my cheeks as a stray thought began to blossom. And this little piggy, Jonas continued, fingers tiptoeing across my face, went all the way home.